And welcome into another episode of Beyond the Forecast. I'm meteorologist Rob Lindenmuth, joined by meteorologist Kevin Appleby. Listen, it's a day today. I know I need more coffee. Well, much like what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, what have you been up to? Anything fun since our last recording?
Yeah, so if you were watching this weekend, you were there Sunday morning
I forgot
for
about
me,
that already.
right? Yeah, so thanks for that, Rob. I appreciate it. But I was in Boston for a night. My good friend here, he was actually part of UAlbany's meteorology program. He was also at Penn State with me, but really close friend from first 2.5 years I lived here. He just recently moved to Boston, or the Boston area, I should say. So we had a little housewarming party, good excuse to go out there and see him. Yep. And I've never been to Boston, so that was a really fun time. And I was up very late, which I don't usually do. I think I was up for almost 24 hours because I don't nap well in the backseat of a car.
Okay, so you weren't driving then.
No.
Okay, I drove through Boston once. I will never do it again. It was...
Yeah, it sounds... it looked not great, especially when we were going out at kind of the dinner time period. It was very congested, but my friend lives outside of the city, like several suburbs away.
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly eastern Massachusetts. I'm not a master of where things are, but we were a decent distance away, Ubered into the city. So the Uber driver's problem, not mine.
Fun. Yeah, exactly. Well,
what about
I
you?
don't think I've been doing much. I'm trying to think.
I've seen all your omelets.
Went to the casino last weekend.
Did you win?
No, I was down, but we were there for almost 4 hours.
Okay,
so there was a lot of playtime.
At that point, I was gonna say, at that point, it's just the experience.
I didn't take a lot of money, but the machines were paying, so I was still able to play for a while. Would have been nice to win big, but that never happens.
Well, then I wouldn't see you.
Yeah,
if you won big.
Well, no, I think I'd still work.
You'd probably be a limit from the casino. They'd be like,
I have been trying something new the last couple of weeks as far as trying to wear a different tie every single day.
How many more do you have?
Oh, I have a lot. But it's getting to the point now where I'm getting to the ties that I didn't usually wear. Not that I don't like, but that I just didn't usually wear.
Why didn't you wear them then?
Because I don't know if they match with things. That's the thing. I get to a certain thing and I'm like, this goes with this goes with this.
I have a couple of ties where I'm like, you see, I like this tie, but I just don't have a good complement.
You just don't know what it can go with for the suit color.
I also have a green tie that,
yeah, we know that. You can wear it for this show.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, now, if you weren't aware that I was trying a different tie, maybe you'll notice now if you're watching on TV. You mentioned the omelets, trying a new thing as far as trying to be a little more healthy, health conscious,
all do that.
more exercise. The weather's getting nicer, so it's kind of that time of year where I usually get into this.
No excuse.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about what we're talking about today. I think that's enough of us.
Yeah. We had to follow up last week's discussion.
Yes.
About the heat. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about the heat. Not in some cases, not as intense as what it was expected, but still record breaking. And I do want to just say that.
And shattering.
Yes. We will also talk about the snowfall stats across the country, locally and across the country, and why that might lead to an increased fire and smoke risk this year. Not necessarily fire here in the Northeast, but more smoke risk here in the Northeast.
Definitely.
And could there be a warm-up on the way?
We'll have more on that coming up shortly.
It's possible, exactly. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But before we get to that, Kevin, you want to talk about this.
Yes.
I'm not a sports person, so I said take it away, Kevin.
Today, you're watching this on Thursday. I know this airs a couple other times throughout the weekend and later on Thursday. Some of these games might have happened. But if you're watching this when it first airs, it's opening day of the MLB. It's such an exciting time. We have so many local teams, fan bases with local ties. So like the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, I'd say are the big three. The farther west you go in New York, you start to get some Blue Jays fans. I know a couple of people from Rochester and Buffalo root for the Blue Jays. Toronto, it's pretty close.
The Blue Jays?
Closer. What's up?
I've never heard of them. I grew up in Rochester. I don't think I've ever heard of them.
So this is why I'm going to talk much about this segment. So, this is the forecast for various different ballparks. I believe there's 11 games that take place on Thursday, so not everybody is opening up. The Yankees opened up last night, as you're seeing this on Thursday, so tonight when we're recording this in San Francisco, but they have the day off. So really, the local teams, the Mets are not going to have any issues. They're well ahead of this cold front that's going to bring us a little bit of rain later, put an end to our 60s or whatever temperature it got up to on Thursday. Forecasting 66.
Yeah, yet to be determined.
Partly sunny skies for Citi Field in Queens. Should be wonderful for opening day baseball. It's certainly not always been that nice for opening day in the Big Apple. Matt likes the Orioles. They'll be okay in Baltimore. The Red Sox are at the Reds. Definitely not typical opening day weather, even in Cincinnati. That's farther south and west, but 83, partly sunny skies. Now, I will say...
That's warm.
I will say, guidance has the chance of a shower or storm before that game. I'm not sure exactly when it starts, but I remember being like, okay, it should be clear by the time the game starts. But it might not be a totally dry day there, but I do think the game will be just fine. Out of all the games that are airing, yeah, I've got a rain chance in Milwaukee where they're hosting the White Sox, who hopefully will be better than years past because it's been a struggle for them. But the other Chicago team is playing at home. It's a very interesting setup there. They're playing against the Washington Nationals, but they're closer to this cold front, and they're closer to the Great Lakes. And I did some further digging. The weather models are very split on what happens tomorrow, today as you're watching this, in Wrigley Field, Chicago, because they're so close to the Great Lakes. You get any little influence from the lake, which has temperatures not
probably
far
in the
above
30s right now.
far above
Yeah.
freezing, is going to drastically change this.
Yep.
And there's a chance that can happen during the game, where you
Yeah.
start out nice and warm, you start to get a little bit of an easterly or northeasterly flow, and then all of a sudden it's in the 50s.
I think we talked about this. It might even be colder than the 50s. I could tell you that.
Yeah,
just from experience
Just
being
from
near
quick.
a lake breeze.
So that's really the main concern for me, because also they'll have some rain, maybe some rumbles of thunder with that cold front coming on through. Of course, California's fine. Seattle looks okay. I guess that's more of a surprise. It usually rains up there, right?
They're the coolest one.
How about Houston being just a degree warmer than Cincinnati? I thought that was interesting. Clearly, Rob didn't care. I guess we can move on. That's opening day forecast.
I was just
Exciting
looking
time.
around.
I wish I had my hat, because I should have thought I had it. I didn't know I was going to talk about this on Wednesday when we were recording
Well,
this. So
You've always got to think ahead.
I try, I swear. You know I try. Sometimes I send out emails on Saturday. I'm
You
like,
do.
I'm doing this,
You
this,
do.
and this week.
And I'm like, all right, well, there goes my ideas.
Yeah.
All right, so we showed you this graphic last week. This is these were the forecast temperatures leading up to this past late week and early last weekend. Obviously, a lot of red on here,
Yes.
a lot of purple. Purple was 10 degrees or more above the record high. A lot of these temperatures were smashed. Now, when I show you the observed temperatures, Kevin, you might have a little more on this.
Yeah.
But these are, so some of them did fall short. Maybe a little bit of an ocean influence in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Still hot.
especially the California ones on Saturday definitely fell short of
Yes.
expectations. Certainly could have been more of an influence. But also, I remember looking at it when we were first looking at the forecast from like the National Weather Service, and they were certainly concerned about an uptick in cloud cover, so that had a little bit of an effect on the temperatures. More
Cloud
so.
or an ocean flow.
Yeah,
I mean, the
combo
Pacific
the
Ocean
two.
is cold.
The Pacific is not like the Atlantic,
Yeah.
where it's warms up. Even in the summer, it's still pretty cold.
But then, I mean, obviously you see, so Phoenix, 105, 105, 105.
Yeah, and we didn't. Did we throw in the other stats?
I don't think I have the graphic in
It's
there
okay.
for that.
I know them off the top
Okay.
of my head. So Phoenix, up until this stretch, had only hit 100 degrees in March one time, and it hit precisely 100 degrees. It hit 105 3 times in a row. The earliest 105-degree day for Phoenix prior to this recent heat wave was, I believe, April 20th. So that was the earliest they
that
ever.
sounds about right, yeah.
That was the earliest they had ever hit 105. So we beat that by about a month. I want to touch on Albuquerque.
Yep.
Albuquerque is just insane, just to be quite honest with you. 91 degrees on Saturday, of course, beat the daily record by only by over 10 degrees. They had never seen a 90-degree day this early in the season. Yeah, of course, these records are meant to be broken. But
Well, and that's just it. Because we have hit these records before, doesn't mean we're never going to hit them again.
Yeah,
So it is one of, but
the one in Albuquerque is ridiculous
Yes.
because 90 plus had never
Yes.
happened earlier than May 3rd.
And that's just it. I mean, you're going almost 2 months.
Yeah, at least
before.
at least a month and a half, and you're talking about there's both sides of the year. I would say there's 6 months where you consider it we're warming up.
Yep.
So after the midpoint of winter, where your average low hits the lowest point, that's when I think you would consider starting that warming trend, and. You get around here, we'll hit our first 70-degree day, our first 80-degree day, which we could talk about that in next week maybe. But we talk about first 90-degree day in Albuquerque. The mean first 90-degree day, when it usually happens for the first time, is probably in June. The earliest it happened is May 3rd. But now we've redefined that to mid-March.
And that's the significance of this. Not necessarily the daily records. That happens. It's just the length of time that we're beating, the first 90-degree day, the first 105-degree day.
Yeah.
That's the significance about this one, not the fact that there's 90s out there. It's the desert Southwest.
Yeah.
It gets hot out there, but not this hot.
Not March.
This time of year.
Not March. This was summer.
I mean, this was obviously exacerbated by this big area of high pressure. It's been dry all winter.
Yes.
There's been no moisture out there.
There's a tie into that we'll talk about in our next
block. This just really made it more possible for this high pressure to get as high and as hot, basically, as this one did. So
even if they had a better snowpack from earlier in the winter,
it still would have been hot.
Very hot, yeah.
But would we have seen these temperatures? Maybe we would have been we would have been knocking 5 or 10 degrees off, possibly.
Maybe Albuquerque doesn't hit 90.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, we're going to talk about snow, but we're going to take a quick break now, and we'll talk about the snow when we get back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Welcome back into Beyond the Forecast. Kevin, we're going to talk about some seasonal snowfall. Obviously, we kind of thought it was a slam dunk.
I definitely did.
We're close, and anything's possible. Whoops, I just passed that because I thought I was switching the graphics on the... I'm tired.
It's okay.
It's a tired day. So far for the season, you put these numbers together, 58 inches. Seasonal normal is 59.2.
Yeah, so one thing I'll add real quick on this, and I'm not sure if you have the to date on the next graphic. That might be what's queued next, but I showed two different normals yesterday morning, and I might have caused some confusion because the one graphic showed 55.7, and if that's in there today, it's probably about 56, and that's because that is through that point in the season. The seasonal normal from late October through early May, that's when we have an average measurable snow. That goes all the way to 59.2. So it's an additional 3. You could think of it this way: an additional 3.5 inches is supposed to fall on average between yesterday and the end of the the end of the cold season.
Because we have right now the normal through this taping. 55.9.
Okay,
so there's your
we get another 3.3.
Yep.
So we are above where we should be for this point in the season, but we haven't clinched being above for the season.
And we're 15 inches above this point last year.
That's nice.
It's
way better.
Just for reference. The next graphic, Kevin, I'll let you talk about because you did put this together. I will interject because I do have one thing to say about it.
Yeah, of course. I can't wait to hear that. I know what it is. So 30-year average, as we showed you, 59.2, right? Mm-hmm. That has not been achieved since 2017, 2018. However, even if we don't get to that mark this year, this will still be the most snow that's fallen since that season. So we've had a couple of winter seasons that were pretty close, 2022 to 23, 2020 to 2021, a couple of big snowstorms that winter. 2018 to 19, Rob's like, I remember making the maps.
Yep.
I'm like, I remember measuring with a yardstick at my house in New Jersey.
I remember your first winter here, and you're like, "Oh, this is an easy winter."
Did I say? I thought this isn't that much different than North Jersey, and then this winter just we talked in previous episodes about how much colder it was than recent winters, but 2023 to 24 stunk. That was my first winter here. 2021 to 22 kind of stunk as well. For snow lovers, maybe it didn't stink for you. Maybe you really like the milder temperatures and less snow. I shouldn't say it as it's universally bad. But
And it is funny, the 2017, 2018, that I think was exacerbated by there were like 3 or 4 nor'easters in a row in March.
Jeez, that's fun.
I was not here that winter, but I remember I came that summer. So I came in the summer of 2018, and I remember everybody here talking like March was just one after the next, after the next, after the next.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we saw a ton of snow in Albany necessarily, but it was one
Had
of
to
those.
see something.
Exactly. But it was also probably a very elevation-driven time period as well, especially you get into March, so timing and everything like that. So with that said, my first season here was 2018, 2019.
So it's your fault.
Well, I have not seen an average snowfall season here in Albany since I've been here. I'm okay with that. I come from Rochester. Our average snowfall is around 100 inches a year. I'm totally okay with the snow that we get here at Albany.
It's the Lindenmuth curse, ladies and gentlemen, especially if we don't hit it this year.
Well, I blamed Mackie because my first winter, I'm like, okay, this is whatever. But then when he got here, we had 2 back-to-back big winter storms, and I'm like, we didn't have this until you got here, man.
Blame Mackie.
But the rest of the winter was not much to really talk about, So half of our snow fell on one storm.
That's so weird.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, that's what happened closer to the coast.
Yes. Yeah, with the blizzard earlier this year.
I don't know if the regional map's in here, Rob.
Yes, it is. Yeah, actually, we're going there next, I believe.
Yeah, so that is going to show that blizzard in February that Berkshire County got in on, but not the capital region, is going to...
Okay, I guess I don't have the regional.
That's fine, but you could see Boston, New York
yes.
City.
I'm going to go this full so that you could actually see what we're talking about.
I'm not sure of the exact New York City totals from recent years. I know they haven't gotten that much snow in some time. It's been a long time.
It's been a while for sure. And I actually did read something. There's a place on Long Island that is actually doing better than Albany this year for snowfall.
Yeah, they
just
probably got under that band.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably got one. From that one storm, they got over 2 feet, I'm sure, in that part of Long Island.
And I just want to point out, look at Marquette. 266 inches for the season.
So that is another interesting one, Rob, because that wasn't too long ago. They added over 3 feet of snow from one storm.
Yeah.
I believe.
But a lot of that, though, is also lake effect.
They're surrounded by lakes.
I mean, you look at that. You look at
northerly wind,
northern Michigan. You look at parts of
Traverse City got buried.
western New York, the Tug Hill.
Yeah.
There's just no reporting stations in the Tug Hill that we can pull that data from. So that's why. But it matches the same color palette that you see in Marquette. So I think we looked at what 360 inches or something there this year. I think that was one of them. We're going to go to the next graphic. I'm just looking at the time, and I'm not trying to...
No, but we want to spend more on the next one.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
So this is and I didn't check this, but add maybe an inch to this for the seasonal snowfall deficits. This is for meteorological winter snowfall. So this is December, January, February.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Huge deficits in some parts of this region. I would even point out that it's especially apparent, and not necessarily on this particular map, Rob, but
it's tough. Again, reporting stations.
Yeah, so some of the summits have their own data, and you could look at the graph of past 30 years, and so many of them out in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming.
You get the ones in California that I think are doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's as far as the moisture ever really got.
The one thing I'll say is this is generally the peak of their snowpack in the Rocky Mountains, right around this time of year. And it's at the lowest. Some of them is at the lowest they've ever measured.
We should have thrown in there a
graph.
That's
on me
cover.
for not doing that, but maybe I could post it in the comments under Facebook or something.
Or we'll look into it next week or just a brief mention.
The graphs are crazy. So the point is, and this is going to tie into our next subject, I believe, that they don't have a lot of moisture, they don't have a lot of snow that is built up because they've been warm, they've been dry for the better part of winter.
So this is just snowfall. Obviously, a lot of areas quite a bit below average. This is the lack of precipitation year over year. Now, I don't think this goes over 24 inches. So where you're seeing 24.09, I think that is just the top of the scale.
24 plus.
Yes. There's a lot in Oregon, in Washington, in Northern California, in Colorado, where you're seeing those darker or brighter
Especially the
shades of
mountains.
red, that's where you're seeing 24-inch plus liquid precipitation deficits. So that's melted snow and rain. Big time drought concerns. I am just going to come back to us because I'm not sure what the next graphic is, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so this does lead into the next part of this. You kind of brought this up, Kevin. Because it's so dry out there, there may be an increased risk for wildfires this summer, which ultimately would mean maybe more smoke here in the Northeast. You know, we've talked about that over the last couple of years. It does depend on how the jet stream ultimately sets up. You know, does it take it north into Canada?
Yeah.
Does it take it across the country?
Doesn't mean it'll be here, but there's
a good likelihood.
if I was a betting man, if I was Rob at Rivers Casino not too long ago, I would say there's probably going to be a good
If
amount
only
of
that
smoke.
was something I could bet on.
Well, I mean,
Maybe eventually.
we'll talk out later about it. But
This is a graph of the planned fires over the coming days. I really don't know what's going on in the middle of the country. We were kind of scratching our heads at this when we looked at this. But this makes sense that they do have a lot of planned maintenance fires out west over the coming days. I think they're trying to get ahead of it because they know it has been so dry. We have prescribed burns here in the Northeast.
yeah, sure.
And that's all these are for, is to just try to get ahead of...
To be fair, Rob, they are still quite warm. We showed you the record-breaking
Yes.
temperatures, but the pattern has only loosened up a bit, so they're still warm, they're still dry, so it's not exactly prime season for prescribed burns.
No, because even I was going to say just to the east of the Rockies, there's very high fire risk over the next couple of days. Dry, warm. You got the winds coming off of the mountains. That just makes fire spread very, very easy, unfortunately. So, but they do try to get ahead of it.
Yep.
That's the good news.
I remember going into the Rockies. I was there at the end of October, and you could see some of the areas. I'm not sure exactly where I was, but you're driving through the mountains, and you just see, like, all of a sudden there's no trees.
Yep, the burn
Things look a
scars
little
and
bit
stuff.
kind of dark,
Yeah.
it's just a burn scar, and it's like there's just so much vegetation out there, and it's very thirsty vegetation.
Well, and a lot of it is it is wild, and that's why sometimes in Canada, people are like, well, why don't they do what we do here? A lot of the areas that these fires happen are so remote.
Yeah.
You can't. It's hard to contain the fires, and it's hard to do prescribed burns like they do here. Canada wildlands are vast.
They're even more desolate than what we have in the Western U.S. I mean,
yes.
there's just nobody up there.
Yeah.
So,
well, with that, Kevin, I do think we're going to have to take another break.
Sure.
We are getting a little tight on time, and I do want to talk about March so far and a little bit of a look at maybe some warming. Maybe. We'll get to it. Don't go away.
You have to wait.
Yeah. And welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. So we talked about heat.
Sure did.
We talked about snowfall. We talked about the lack of snowfall or rain out west and the fire potential this summer. Now I thought we'd bring it back a little more local.
Sure.
We'll take a quick look at what, I don't know why I'm talking like that. We'll take a quick look at what March has given us so far.
It's a roller coaster.
I'm so tired. Wait until 4 o'clock tonight.
I'll be watching.
There's the March temperature calendar so far. Through the 24th, we're at 36.5 degrees, which is 2.1 degrees above average. So March, I thought would maybe go down as a below average month. It may not.
Oh, not after the
It may not.
not after the middle of the month.
Yeah. So, it's looking interesting. It's looking interesting. I mean, and obviously we've got the warm up coming now. This week. I think we will end up above average. Obviously, you look back at the 10th and 11th, we broke records those days in the 70s.
That's
Most
nice.
of the month, I know, and it seems like it's been so cold this month, and overall it has, but that warmth just kind of outweighs
Yeah. I mean,
how quote unquote cold we've been.
think of it this way. I mean, the average high doesn't usually get into the 70s until, what is it, June? Is it June or is it May?
Maybe late May.
Late
Might
May,
be
possibly.
late. I'll check.
Yes,
you
it's,
talk.
it's,
I think
I
it's
remember
late May,
now.
but
I do remember looking now. I believe June goes from 76 to 83. So I think I looked at it the other
All
day.
right, May.
Yeah, no, he's going to look it up, but I think I'm right about
70 is May 10th.
that. Okay. What
That's
about
the first.
What about, okay, well, what's the 31st? You still got it up?
Of May?
Yeah.
75.
Okay, we'll call that a win.
So then June, 76 to what?
83.
Yep.
Boom. Yeah, I think I looked at it a few days ago. Maybe last week, maybe Monday. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, you have that little taste of spring or even early summer.
It's tough to go back
Yeah.
to what is more typical of
like
March.
76 on Tuesday the 10th. A week later, you don't get out of the mid 30s.
Yeah.
Like,
And a week before that, you didn't get out of the 20s.
yeah. Yeah.
So March can have
Everything.
Yes, literally everything. Severe weather, snow, ice, rain.
He had that strong cold front that came through. So,
Like it's March is not my favorite month of the year.
and don't forget that Tuesday, it's the 17th. It's very interesting how they keep records at the National Weather Service because they go by local standard time. We're on daylight time now. After midnight, the temperature was still at 60 and then took a nosedive within 20 minutes. We talked about that last week. So that goes down as a 36-degree day. But, I mean, daylight time, midnight, it's in the 60s. It's incredible how
I'm just
strong
throwing that out there.
How strong that
doesn't
cold
make
front
sense.
was. It was incredible. But I point that out because I was saying St. Patrick's Day is going to go down as a 60-degree day, and that's not true because of how they keep records. It's been consistent over a long period of time. That's how they do it, but I learned something new.
I never knew that. And it doesn't make sense to me still, but that's just my opinion. All right. We've got maybe some warmth. There we go.
Gotta be.
This is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So this does take us into early April. Average highs during this time frame, 53 to 56. Average lows are above freezing. Do we get there? We're kind of on the fringe of like leaning above average.
Much higher confidence.
And notice
Just
the
southwest
warmth
of
out
us.
west. Not saying that the out west isn't going to still be warm, but the core of the warmth kind of looks to move into the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might be on the fringe. I just don't like this time of year.
I've never seen Albany on the fringe. Ever.
Well, with
kidding,
the guidance coming in today, I'm looking out, and backdoor cold fronts. I just don't like it.
How about that NBM box spread?
Well, that too, and nobody has any idea what we're talking about.
So
we might post it or show maybe we'll show it next week. Maybe we'll show something
we'll
like
have to
that.
screenshot what they're having for this week.
Yeah.
In case, it could be a case where that forecast changes a bit.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I have no confidence in the exact temperature for next Thursday, just to put
Well,
it in
and that's just it. That's why they have a range. The further out you go,
And
the less confidence you'll have.
That's why you have such a tight gradient of these. Usually these are low. Think of from like Dallas to Wichita to Denver. Look how far apart those like 10% intervals are. And then you get to Northeast PA and our area, and it just goes doop, 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 because it's that close.
Want to make that noise again?
Doop, 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 doop.
All right, we're running out of time. So next week, we will have a recap of March. So we'll go down through all the details: rain, snow, temperatures, highs, lows, all that fun stuff. We'll have a look ahead to April, what an average April brings.
Yeah, average.
What the Climate Prediction Center is thinking will happen. And I'm sure there'll be some more things thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things that I could set in stone that we are talking about next week. But don't forget, if you do have a comment or a weather question, feel free to email us. Our email addresses are right there. Hopefully you all have a great week. Enjoy the warm-up today. Well, Thursday.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Today.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of back to winter again as we head into the upcoming weekend, which I've got family coming out, so we can blame them.
We'll blame them, and I'll be cold on the weather next Saturday morning. See you there.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you guys back here next week.